first of all, I'm a Ukrainian Irish boy, and I grew up in the East End of Sioux Lookout. My mom played mandolin and banjo and guitar, and she taught me how to play mandolin.
Nice.
I wasn't very good, and I was just a little kid, but I mean, I had a lot of fun. My grandfather, when he come from the Ukraine, he had a homemade cello. I remember being in the shed, and it always sat in the shed. And I never met my grandfather. He died before I was born. But I remember as I got older, I got a hold of that cello. And I never played it though, because the strings weren't on it. But I mean, I cherished that thing, you know? It was really something.
I think the first time I saw you play was 1996, and it would have been a rained out Sioux Mountain Music Festival show. So it would have been a rainy day. And back then you'd load up shop and you'd bring it back to the Mayfair Theater.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it was about 96. I would have been just learning how to play guitar, and this would have been really big to me. And I always remember you brought so much live energy to those shows. And I think me and my friends who were just learning how to play guitar and just starting our own bands, we had seen adults on stage before. We had never seen like an adult like really rock out and like truly embrace the music, jumping around the stage, talking to the drummer. You know, we'd always seen the adults like slowly strum their guitars and, you know, play in church for us, right? But we saw you just giving it really hard every song, and just wanted to know if you still get the same thrill from playing music, from playing shows, and that you did back then.
Oh yeah. It's sort of weird, because when I'm on stage, I just go with it. You know, the music moves me, and there's no stopping. There's no stopping, because the thing with playing a show is it starts and it ends. So you've only got so much time. And I tell this to the kids, as soon as you go on, it's a countdown to the end. And they look at me, what? I said, believe me, it's countdown to the end. And as you're walking off, you're going to want to be back on there. When the lights went down, it was nothing but rock and roll. Let's go. You know, it moves me. It really moves me. And back to what I was saying about as soon as you go on, it's a countdown to when you're going on. When you're coming off, you're going to want to be back on. I asked the first few kids, so was it like that? Yeah, I want to be back on the stage, you know? Nice. So I mean, that's why, I mean, like, you're only on there for 45 minutes at a time, or maybe only half hour, or, you know, whatever the length of time you're going to be on there for is the length of time. And time just evaporates. It goes, it's gone. You must know that. You feel that, don't you? Yeah. Like you walk on the stage and boom, you're there, you're going, and bang, all of a sudden it's over. And walking off, it really feels good if you did a good show, you know? So every time I go on, it's like could be the last time I'm ever going on, you know? Right. That's the way I feel about it.
Probably the biggest show I ever played for was maybe 200 people at a club called the Zoo in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I love the Zoo. It's closed.
Yeah, it's sad. I joined a band for about 8 months. I was like a hired gun. I played bass for them, and they were really popular at the time. So I just had to join them and play these shows. And it was like, we did a Canada Day show in 2004, and the house was packed. The whole building was just wall to wall people. It's hot and everyone's having a great time. And the nerves, you were just so nervous, and you just wanted to make it happen. And just really embrace it. It felt like 5 seconds. It just felt like I was up there. And
you make an impression on people when you're on, you know, like when I'm on the stage, I'm looking at the audience, trying to get a response out of people. You know, I'll look at a person, smile, and then turn away and look at somebody else. And then sometimes if I'm really nervous, I just look over the tops of their heads and I smile at the back wall. And that helps me, you know. But I mean, you're right in what you're saying. You're right. Yeah. And you know something about the Zoo? I worked in the Zoo as a pizza guy, pushing pizza around the Zoo. I had a lot of fun in there, a lot of fun. And the stage in the Zoo is just a tiny little stage. But I was never on the Zoo stage, but looking at it, it's not that big. No, it's really not big. It's about the same size as the stage in the youth center, just a little bit deeper. Right. You know, from what I recall, because I was going to the Zoo in the 90s. That was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a long time ago.
Victor Wooten's got a great book about being a musician. Exactly. And there's that one chapter about eye contact, and it was about you as a musician having eye contact with your bandmates, but also
Yeah.
having that contact with the people on the stage, right? And it's a really moving thing when you, and it's not just about you. It's like, it's what you're making people feel. And I think that's the kind of like the next step you take as a musician, where it's like, yeah, I can make other people feel how I feel when I play this song, right? And
yeah, well, where I got that from was I saw Kiss. Okay, I saw Kiss as a little kid, and I remember looking up at Paul Stanley, and he was like 20 feet away, and looking at him and thinking, "Man, you're amazing." And the way he looked at me, he looked down at me, and he smiled. I thought, "Wow, he knows me." Because he did that, I felt really good. I felt like I knew him, like he knew me. So as a result of that, I mean, I'm not saying I'm Paul Stanley. I'm the furthest thing from Paul Stanley, but that's what I try to do. You know, if you're on the stage, look at somebody and smile, because you don't know what kind of day these people have had. You know, you haven't got a clue what kind of day people have had. And you know, being on a stage, there's always a crowd, and the crowd's always staring at you or other people in the band. So to display happiness and joy is the best thing you can do. You know. Because, like I said earlier, you don't know what kind of day these people have had. If somebody's had a bad day, you know, you can make their day a little bit better. That's the intention with it. Because Paul Stanley made my day huge. After he looked at it, this was probably 40 years ago, and I still remember it like yesterday. You know, it's just it's an amazing feeling. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'd like you to provide some timelines for the current program for the Sioux Multicultural Youth Music Program. So just basically, you know, when did it start?
The Sioux the program, as you know it right now, I started in November of 2016, and I've been going ever since. But prior to that, I taught guitar out of this shop here. And when I was teaching guitar, the reason I was doing it the second time, which was that time, was to get my son into something, a band. You know, I wanted him to share the same thing that I experienced as a kid. So I put bands together out of this shop, and then from the shop, a couple of years later, well, actually from the shop, I worked real hard in the shop for 3 or 4 years, and then fellow went away to college. And when he went away to college, the guitar school, as I knew it back then, I just sort of let it drop, because fellow wasn't around, and I was doing other things. But then after a while, I really missed fella, and I really missed the band, and I really, really missed the kids, you know. So I got to thinking, I'll start it up again. So I started it up again in here, and I worked in here. Well, when did I start it? I think I started it in January. So January, February, March, April, May, February is when I started. So I worked about 8 months or something, and then I noticed an ad in the paper. And Jen Thomas from Anishinaabe Friendship Center had put an ad in the paper looking for a music coordinator. So I thought, wow, I should try it out. I should see if I could get hired. So I put an application. So I went in and I started, and going into the youth center, the new youth center, because the old youth center when fellow was playing was the arena, just like you. When you were playing, it was upstairs at the arena. You must remember those days. Those were great days. Everywhere there were touring, stopped in there and played. Cancer Bats played there. A lot of bands played there.
Attack and Black.
Anyway, yeah. So did they ever? So I in the youth center now, in the new youth center, I was just bowled right over. I thought, wow, this is so cool. It's so nice. There's a stage, there's a PA, everything you need is there. And I thought, wow, this is what I wanted for fella's group and all the kids I was teaching way back when to be playing in. So from there, I started to work. And when I went to the youth center, or the new youth center, I brought 30 students with me. So I mean, I already had a whole group of people that wanted to learn. And I mean, I'm talking kids from 5 right up to adults that are 50, but primarily young kids from 5 to about 14. And it just started to go. I put bands together, and it snowballed. You know, it's really working out well right now, with the exception of the coronavirus fears. But I mean, this is going to end. It's going to end, and I don't know when, but it'll end, and everything will get back to normal. And I pray that it ends quickly, because it drives me crazy not having kids down in the youth center. It really does. for a couple of weeks, since March 14th. March 14th was supposed to be my spring break concert. Jen in the morning, it was a Saturday. I said, Jen, I don't know if I should have a concert. So I'm sorry, Tommy, I didn't get a hold of you. Everything's canceled. It's got to be canceled due to the COVID-19. I said, okay, I agree. Okay, that's great. So I haven't seen a kid in the center since March 14th. What is it today? May 21st?
Right.
Yeah, 21st of May. That's a long time.
It's been a
That's
while.
a really long time. But right after that, I went into a week of a wicked depression, thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What are the kids going to do? And that whole week, I just cleaned, sterilized, cleaned, retooled, got things together, rebuilt stuff, rewired stuff, and it just kept going, kept working. But I'm all alone down there. The second week, I'm banging my head against the wall. What am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So towards the end of the second week, I thought, well, everybody is online right now. I'm going to try to teach guitar online. Like, I teach guitar, bass, drums, and vocals, but I don't know how I would teach drums online, because I'll play it, bat, and the kid plays it. It would not be in time. So rather than not teach a kid right, I know I can teach guitar. Guitar is easy. Acoustic, it's not easy, but it's easy. It's easy for me to teach guitar. Because acoustic guitar, nice, easy, everybody's working. So all my acoustic guitar players, 2 weeks after March 14th, well, I guess the beginning of April, since the first week of April, I've been teaching guitar online, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I don't have all the students that I had with bass, drums, and vocals, because it's too hard to coordinate that, but I'm still doing guitar. And believe me, the kids that I'm going one-on-one with guitar are getting better and better and better. Like, that's what it takes. You gotta be one-on-one with them and show them, and when you when they learn a scale, or when they learn a new chord, or when they put a song together, like, it's amazing. Like, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, 3 weeks, some of my senior guitar players, and seniors not old, seniors like 12 to 14. Okay, that's my senior kids. There's 4 of them. I said, okay, guys, time to write a song. Okay, we'll write a song. What do we write about? Whatever you feel. If you're feeling bad about something, feeling good about something, feeling happy about something, feeling sad about something, whatever you're feeling, write about it. I said, what about this COVID-19 thing? Why don't you write a song about that? And I mean, they started to write. But the first thing was, well, what chords do I use? Well, whatever chords you want to use. You know all the chords within the key, don't you? Oh, okay, yeah, I got it. So they started to write. Out of those 4 kids, I've got 2 kids that have got lyrics and music done, and one of the boys already put it on the youth center site. Jansen Estreicher, great kid, really learns quickly. The other boy, Wes Shabert, he's got his song done. It's just amazing, but he doesn't want it on the internet yet. He wants to fix it up. I think I could do this. I think I could do this. And I'm looking at him thinking, you're exactly like I was when I was a kid. You don't want to release it yet because you know you can do better. That's great. And the other 2 kids, Jaden Emberley, he's working on something right now. And the other boy, Matig Donnelly, he's working on something. But it's such a difference of guitar playing. Like Jaden likes to play rock, like Wonderwall, stuff like that. Matig, he wants to play really, really heavy stuff. Wes likes to play not necessarily poppy, but Wes is very influenced by his family. Okay, so therefore, his grandfather, Jim Shabert, Jim wanted him to play a CCR song. So Wes come to the forefront with, okay, I got these 2 songs. Well, what are they? Fortunate Son and Have You Ever Seen the Rain? I looked at, what? You know those songs? Like, those are too old for me. But no, but I mean, all the kids, the four kids that are writing are just amazing. It's really something when you see a kid do what you want them to do, because when you ask a little guy or a little girl, whatever, to do something, it's only about a 70% chance they're going to do it. And I maybe not even 70, maybe 60. Okay, but when they come back to you like that and they do it, it's just like wow. What
Yeah,
were we talking about? I brought you right off.
that's great though. Just when the program started.
November 2016 is what I should have said.
Yeah,
Next time I go on a ramble, tell me to shut up.
it's a beautiful story to get out there. Just the fact that you've got 4 kids in Sioux who are writing. I also wanted to get a sense of how many participants. So at any given time, how many youth are we talking about who are actively engaged in the program?
Okay, before the shutdown or before the lockdown, I had over the last 3 years, I've had between 30 and 40 students per term. Now I work in 3-month terms. Okay, I go 12 weeks, 12 weeks, 12 weeks, 12 weeks, and 4 times 12. So between 30 and 40. But in the summertime, a lot of the kids, they got family stuff, and I mean, family's really important. But the way I describe it, I said, you got your family, you got your school, and then you got guitar. That's the way I describe it to kids. And they look at me, what? Oh, guitar should be third. Do you play sports? Yeah. Well, put guitar as a sport, and sports is third. But I've got between 30 and 40, and in the summertime, the kids that go on holidays and whatnot, I mean, the private kids, I just give them the summer off. But the kids in the bands, they stay. And I do overtime with the kids in the bands because the summer is about the music festival, in my opinion. Like I've always loved the music festival. When the music festival started, I was in on that. I mean, I wasn't an important person, but I was a kid that played guitar that wanted to do a music festival. So I was part of that.
Yeah.
So in the summer, maybe 20 kids, maybe 25. Yeah. But the rest of the year, between 30 and 40 usually.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was thinking about my own kind of path to getting here. And my dad was a guitar player, so there was always a guitar in the house. There was always a guitar sitting on a couch. Like I can't remember a guitar ever not being there. I have memories of running my fingers down the rusty kind of strings to get my calluses. I would sit there and watch TV with my parents, and they'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm just like, "I'm ripping my fingertips up." So in a week from now, I had no patience for gradually getting calluses. I'm like, I am gonna like a cheese grater. Like my fingers are I'm just gonna shred them. And then it was like 3 days later, they callus over. So always a guitar in my house, and I always wanted to play it. So it was very natural for me to pick up a guitar and play it. My dad had the Hard Rock Bible. It's a great book, and I read that, and that book just became my life. And it was interesting because all the bands in that book are the things I really got into in my 20s. Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin. So it was very rooted in Sabbath and just that heavy kind of sludgy, guitar riffs, and that's what I love. But my dad's more of he's more of an acoustic guy himself, right? But he always had a classical, 6-string steel string. I actually learned on a classical. Most of my learning was done on a classical. I liked how the nylon strings felt. It was a little bit softer on the fingers. You could bend them a lot easier. So if I wanted to do bends, I learned a lot of Smashing Pumpkins in the 90s. Those are the people I emulated as a kid. 9 Inch Nails, really heavy stuff. So I was wondering about your journey. So, how you started to play the instrument, and, what was your process in going from just absolute rookie to someone who can play songs and play shows?
And I remember years back when I was like 6 or 7, my dad said to me, "You're going to play the accordion." I thought, "What's an accordion?" He says, "You're going to play the accordion. It's like a piano, but it goes like this." Wait a minute. What? Okay. So all of a sudden he gets me a little red accordion. I'm signed up in lessons. I'm thinking, what in the HE double hockey sticks am I doing here? Don't understand it. I can squeeze it. I can play the bass part. I can play it, but I didn't really like it. My mom played guitar, and I always loved what she played. She played a lot of songs. She was a great singer, a great guitar player, rhythm player. And I asked her, I said, "Mom, would you teach me how to play that?" And she said, "Sure." So she taught me G, C, and D. And it took a while. And I went through the same thing you went through with the fingers. That's the toughest part. The fingers, they got to be tough for it's hard on them. But she taught me how to play G, C, and D. And then E minor and A minor, things like that. But from watching her play, I wanted to be a player. And I thought, wow, it's so cool. You pick up this box or this, and you strum it, and it's so loud. As a little kid, I thought it was loud. And But basically, I learned from my mom. My mom taught me how to play. And then from my mom, I had other teachers like Darcy LeGros from the Sacred Heart School. He gave me lessons. And then from Darcy, that was it for guitar. And then later on in life, I met a guy named Danny Spence. Danny's from Toronto, he's from Kitchener-Waterloo area. And he says to me, he says, yeah, you're playing fine, but do you know any scales? Scales? What are scales? And he showed me the modes, the 7 diatonic modes. And then he also showed me the 5 pentatonic, the minor pentatonic and the major pentatonic. And from that point, whoa, this is really something. I was so off the mark until I learned these modes. Like with them, and I mean, I don't use the modes, but the modes are good for everything that I play and everything that you play. Anything you play is based on a scale. In North America, everything's based on the major scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That scale goes miles and miles and miles and miles. But I didn't know that. I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue at all. But basically, where did I learn from? From my mom. And I played along with her. My mom was into guitar, into mandolin, into banjo, not into drums, but Billy had a set of drums in the basement. But my mom had me playing mandolin with her, tried to teach me the banjo, but I was just too young and too cocky to be playing that. All I wanted to do was bang it. And I thought it was a drum, and she, no, don't do that, don't do that. So the banjo was taken away from me, and I was on the mandolin for the longest time. But it was my mom that taught me.
For me, I remember about 1991, Pearl Jam's 10 came out.
Oh,
I remember seeing the music video for Even Flow at the Mayfair Theater in the little ice cream shop. Me and my best friend, Jamie Stewart, are watching Eddie Vedder crowd surf, and it was like, what is that? I need to be that.
Yeah.
It was just everything to us, right? So I bought the album 10, and my dad had an amazing stereo system in our living room. So my parents, right? So when I was a kid, it was LP records. We would play Earth, Wind, and Fire and stuff like that. When I got older, they bought a CD player right around 1990, and he had the big booming tower stacks and the big subwoofer. And I would put Pearl Jam on there, and I would crank up Pearl Jam. And then my dad would walk in the room, and he'd turn it down, and he goes, "Oh, you know what that is? Those guys are just ripping off Led Zeppelin. They're just playing simple pentatonic blues stuff." And then he would grab his acoustic guitar, and within about 5 seconds, he'd be playing along to Even Flow, and he'd be like, "Oh, this is just bad." As a kid, it would make me so angry. I'm like, you don't know about my music, and he would just sum it up. And so for me, that just spurred me to pick the thing up. Yeah. And even to this day, I probably get the most joy out of a guitar by playing along to music and trying to figure out how they do what they do. And I love transposing, and I love learning music. So I wanted to touch upon, your son Blaine. You mentioned earlier, AKA Fella.
That's what.
So it's interesting to see the tradition being passed on, right? So I know he's a touring musician. He's been in a variety of bands. He's studied music professionally. Mm-hmm. So I was wondering, what's he up to these days? What's
well, strangely enough, he's here. He's here right now, and he's just over there quite a while. He's sleeping. Like most rock stars, they sleep till noon. He's here because of the COVID thing. Shorty and I figured, let's bring him home, so we brought him home. Soda doesn't want to come home, though. She's still in Ottawa. But Fella, or Blaine, as most people know, I don't know why I don't call my kids by their real names. I don't even understand why. But Fella's, when he first started, he started at about 8 years old. I taught him. And then when he was in grade 9, I think, in grade 9, I put him into Berkeley College of Music in Boston. And he studied music online. He got his master's in guitar. It took 1.5 years to get that. He's got his master's in guitar. And then when he graduated high school, he tried to get into Fanshawe for music industry arts. But as Fanshawe is, they're a really prestigious school. They didn't take him the first year, but he also applied at St. Lawrence in Kingston. And he got into the digital media and music program in Kingston. Did 2 years there. And then from that point, he got into Fanshawe. And in Kingston and London is where he learned production. Maybe a little bit from me, but he's so far ahead of me with it that, he's really good at it. He studied that there, and then he got into bands there. And what was the first band? The first band was called Full Year. Full Year, they were called. And then the second band was Cheapside. And the band he's in presently is called Falsifier. And they've toured the U.S. They've done a U.S., I think, did 2 U.S. tours? No, 1, because the second one was canceled due to the COVID. That's actually when he came home. He was supposed to tour, but he didn't. But no, he's playing with a band called Falsifier, and you can find them online. You can find them online. Very, very heavy rock, though. Extremely heavy rock, and impossible guitar to follow. I mean, I know when I'm out of my league, and I just sit back and watch him. Like, he's just really, really amazing on the guitar. But then, being a father, I would say that, you know. But he's doing well, though. He's doing really well.
I remember the first time I saw him at a music festival, and you guys had the established band, and you had your set list. And then you'd bring this little boy on stage, and he'd play a solo or something over one of your songs. Right? And I remember sitting in the audience at the music festival, and people are like, "Oh, isn't it cute that little boy can play guitar?" It was almost like a novelty act. And then I had to turn to him. I'd be like, "No, like he's really playing the guitar. Like that's not like I'm like that kid's shredding better than I can. I'm like, this is really good. Like I wanted to make sure they knew, they could understand how good it was. It's like, it's not like some little trick he's doing. It's like
no, it wasn't.
Like he's doing it. That's great.
There was a time when he did air band as in a band I was in called Ozanozo. I don't know if you remember Ozanozo or not.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, we warmed up for Trooper, and fella was 6, and I said, "Okay, fella, grab your guitar. You're going to come out. You're going to play." And we didn't plug him in. He just ran around the stage, put his hat on back, rocked and air banded, and I was just blown away. And as well as the people in the front row were floored by him. They're just like, who is that? Like, and he's just running around. And that may have been why he does what he does today. I don't know. But no, he's quite an accomplished guitar player. Really accomplished. And a great producer, great engineer. I mean, we at the youth center with the senior band, we just put together a song called "Wake Me When It's Over." We covered the Cranberries and had everybody do their parts at home, brought them together, and it was time to mix. And oh my God, I wasn't sure what to do with this. Paul Matusik in the band, he did a mix on it, and it was okay. But then I figured, wait a sec, let's give it to fella, because he's here right now and he's looking for something to do. So I give it to fella, and he mixed it, he mastered it, and I think it sounds good. You know, it's on the Facebook page, "Wake Me When It's Over," and great. That band with Eric Gretzky on drums, the vocalist is McKenna Murphy, and Paul Matusik on guitar, and I'm on bass on that. And it's the first time that I've ever done anything at all like that. It's like I wasn't sure it was going to be possible to pull it off, because when I see these videos, or when I saw these videos in the last few months, you think they're doing them live. They're not.
No,
they can't. They can't be. The timing alone, because I mean, I tried it with a set of drums and me on guitar, and it does not work. And I thought, okay, so how do you make this work? But what we did was recorded all our parts individually, but we used a ghost track to play too, as you always do. Yeah. And it worked out really well. Fella did the mix. He did the mastering. I think it sounds really good, you know.
Excellent.
But, yeah.
So I was again, like just thinking about my progress, going from an absolute rookie to just, all the way to to making an album, being on stage. So when I was a little kid, my parents would put on Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I would jam along with this. And I would make my own guitars. I would make laundry box guitars, and I would put yarn on them. This is like 5 and 6. But my parents said when Stevie was on, like I was just if the house is a knocking, don't bother knocking, just bother come on in. Like it was just I would just run around the room and like kick off the walls. And they said that got me going. And then of course as I got older, I told you the story about my dad and Pearl Jam. I got a guitar. My first bands was like 96, 97. Flash forwards the year 2000, and we want to record an album. And of course we said, well, Tommy's going to record the album, who else is going to record it, right? So we scrounged together what we had, and we approached you and we said, look, this is how much money we have. We're like 18, 19. And we said, can we produce an album? And you very politely just told us, no, you can't with that much money. But what you did was you recorded us live. It's essentially like we did about 8 hours of recording. Most of it was live. You did a basic amount of mastering it. I think we threw you a couple $100. You know, it was you probably invested like 12 hours in us, and we paid you maybe a couple $100. And then we got our masters, and we put that on a CD, and we sold it. And it's just, so that was kind of my trajectory from going from a little kid to, that's not how it all ended. So I was just hoping for you to talk a little about, you know, just, I know everyone's different. Every kid's going to learn different. I know some kids are going to skyrocket and just learn skills faster than others. But in general, you know, like, what's your game plan here for just welcoming that student to the guitar or the bass and just saying, just putting in their hands for the first time? And, you know, what's your general approach to just bringing them on board and then hopefully send them off on their way?
The first thing you got to do is you got to make the instrument fun. Okay. Because if it's not fun, they're not going to stick around. So you got to make it sort of fun to play, and in making it fun to play is smiling a lot when you're playing, doing goofy things until they go, okay. And once they know the first chord, it might not be fun until they get that first chord, making that G chord or the D chord ring. And once it rings, it becomes fun. Now, when you've got them having fun with it, you've got to keep making it fun, okay? And it's sometimes it's a crapshoot. You know, sometimes you don't know whether or not they're going to make it. Sometimes they're just there to observe. Sometimes, but the ones that are there that really want to do it it's an amazing feeling. You know, when you teach a kid a G and a C and a D, and they get it, and they're smiling, and they can sing along with it, it's like, well, okay, we got it. Okay, we're there. And then you just keep going with it. And I mean, it's a great feeling when a young fella or a young girl can actually play the instrument, you know. But the key to it is to keep it fun. And I didn't figure this out myself. It was my wife that said, every time I get home from work, was it fun? Did they have fun? Did they have fun? Of course they had fun. Right, and I started thinking about that. Oh, yeah. Say, Shorty's not, I mean, she played piano as a kid, but she's not really a musician, but she can play. But Shorty's idea of a young'un playing is, did they have fun? And yeah, they did have fun. They did have fun. Because if they're not having fun, they're not going to come back. They won't come back. Or they might, but they won't stick around, you know? And, you know, I'll tell you the truth. When a kid first comes in, you can tell whether or not they really want to play, okay? Some of them, they're there because their mom or their dad wants them to play. And I respect that. I respect everything. And some of them, if they don't want to play, they just don't want to play. But when they want to play, it's a lot of fun. Back to the fun thing, eh? I mean, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? You know, if you're not having fun playing guitar, go play baseball or go play soccer. But if you're not having fun playing soccer, come play guitar. You know, the thing about playing guitar is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a good player or a bad player, as long as you're a player. And what the guitar does for me is it settles me down. Like, I, just like you, have bad days sometimes. You know, I have bad days. You have bad days. When I have a real bad day, I come home, I pick up my guitar, and I start to strum. Within a short amount of time, my bad day is gone. It's gone. I'm playing guitar now, you know. But what was the original question?
Oh, just students' progress just from going.
Oh, yeah. No, when they start really progressing, it's an amazing feeling. Yeah. Because at some point you've got to let go and let them go on their own, you know. Because, like I was talking about Jansen a little while ago. Now, with Jansen, I've had Jansen. This is Jansen's 4th year with me, and when a child starts taking what you've taught the child and developing it and starts to develop their own thing, like. It's like, wow, you're getting there. Like with Jansen, I teach him songs, and then one day he comes back with a song. I said, well, okay, I got to listen to it once. No, you don't have to listen to it. I know it. What do you mean you know it? I know it. Well, how'd you learn it? Well, there's YouTube and then there's Guitar Tab Universe. Oh, okay, you're watching me. Okay. And he plays a song right there. Doesn't need the lyrics, doesn't need the music. He can sing it, he can play it. I'm just, wow. And then I'm thinking back, okay, I'm letting go a little bit. Let go a little bit, see what he can do. Because all the kids that are the serious players are amazing players. Doesn't matter if they can play the lead to Stairway to Heaven or not. The fact is they're playing and they're having fun.
Yeah, I think that's it's really important for kids to have mentors, but ones that they just want to emulate. And I think about my time in education and teaching, and I had Mr. McPherson when I was in high school teaching English.
Love him.
And he always brought the enthusiasm. It was like, we're going to read this book, it's going to be great. And then I had other teachers who were just like, it doesn't even seem like you care about what you're teaching me, so why should I care about it? And so really good. I mean, when I taught writing at Confederation College, I would always tell my students that I actually saw myself more as an editor than a teacher. And I made the analogy to being a record producer. And you look at producing the Beatles. Look at Bob Rock, and you see those behind the scenes documentaries. When they're in the studio hammering out a song, Bob Rock is like literally writing the song with them, and he's saying, "No, you don't do the chorus. Then you do the bridge part. And then, no, you don't do that part. You guys got to do this." And they don't push back because they respect his opinion. And I always made that connection, right? Because you need a mentor who can like push you in the right direction and challenge you and let you go on your own kind of path. But you need that person who just shows the enthusiasm and cares about what you do.
Well, with the Beatles, George Martin, he saw the way it should have happened, and with Bob Rock, he had a vision too. Now, sometimes the band can't see it because the band's going through the motions and the band sees it a certain way, but a producer sees it completely differently. And in the case of Bob Rock and George Martin, there's some incredible productions happened,
Yeah, and the same thing happens when you write a novel. When you publish it, the writer comes in with the manuscript, and it's the editorial team that says, no, that character's boring, that setting doesn't work, that character's the main character, you got to focus on that. Because to me, that's really what it comes down to. Is a musician will play something, and they think the best part of the song is when I'm doing this part over here. But a producer will be like, no, that's boring and average. The best part of what you're doing is this little bit over here. We need to take all that little energy and make that the whole song. And then the musician will fight back and say, you don't know what you're talking about. I wrote this thing. And it's kind of great how you have that back and forth. And like, you don't know it's my song. You can't tell me about my song. And like, well, I hear it differently than you.
Yeah.
So that's great. I want to hear more about your life as a musician. And I want to know about your first live show, like what you consider your first, your big show you got to play live for people. So how old are you? Like what kind of band was it? Do you know like what you would consider your first show?
I remember it just like yesterday. I was probably maybe 11, maybe 10 or 11. 10 or 11. We played at the Mayfair Theater before a Saturday matinee. And it was really, really something. Like the room was full. We walked on the stage and played I think we had maybe 5 songs, but it was a great experience. I was guitar. The bassist was a guy named Clifford Dubroy. The drummer was Danny Fraser, or Dan Fraser as he's called. I always call him Danny. And who was the other guy? I think that was it. Yeah, it's the 3 of us. We played at the Mayfair Theater, and the room was packed. It was packed. We went on the stage, played our set. I remember Paul Bowles gave us all coupons for pop and popcorn and ice cream and free show tickets, and he was blown away. But we were really, really excited, really excited. Never forget that, we're on the stage playing away, lights are out, and boom, we're there, looking out at the crowd, just playing away. It was amazing. The next time we played was at the place called Friendly Freddy's, which is now called Fair Convenience.
Right.
And Friendly Freddy's, it had a basement. There was nothing down there. What was down there was pinball machines, but they were just broken down pinball machines being repaired. But Clifford went to Fred Beige and said to him, could we play in your room? Sure, come on down and play. So we had Danny's mom and dad at the door, taking, I think it was 25 cents to get in, something like that. And we did our set. Our set was bigger then. I think it was closer to 8 songs. We did it twice though. And we did our set. Thank you, good night, right on. And we made $7.25. It was amazing, amazing. I mean, $7.25 ain't that much money, but it was, and it wasn't for the money. It was just basically for the fun, the fun of it. That was my first shows as a little kid. As I started to grow, I got involved with other bands. The first band that I played with professionally, though, was a band called the Rockaholics. And what I mean by professionally is played in bars, played socials, played New Year's. That was the Rockaholics, and that was with Lynn Husak, Kelly Magnuson, Marlene Leadbeater, and Dan Smith, and myself on guitar. We played the Rockaholics for maybe 3 or 4 years, and then from there, I moved to Winnipeg. I got in a band called Protege, and we practiced. We practiced 3 times a week, religiously, and that band it didn't really go anywhere, but I had a lot of fun. And from there, I came back home, and I was with, what did I do after that? Oh yeah. I still played with the Rockaholics, but it was a different Rockaholics. It was called Milestone. And from there, I played in a country band with Derek Donio and Ron Jacques, and who else was in the band? Rob Canton. And from there, what do I do from there? Whoa, can't remember now.
Well, that's great. I want to touch on, you just mentioned. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you asked about the first band when I was a kid. When I was a kid, played at the Mayfair Theater, and after the Mayfair Theater, Friendly Freddy's in the basement. Paid $7.50 or something like that in the basement. And we made lots of coupons for pop and popcorn, ice cream, free tickets for the shows. A lot of fun. For the fun of it, though. The fun of it.
I remember playing the music festival maybe 1999 or 2000, and Rob Canton passed me his Paul Reed Smith, and he said, "Hey, do you want to play on my rig tonight?" And I was like, "Okay." And he had a Mesa Boogie triple rectifier playing it out of this Paul Reed Smith. And he's like, "You want to try that instead of your little amp?" I'm like, "Sure." Probably sound a little better. He's like, "Yeah, I think it'll sound a lot better." I'm like, it's like a $5,000 rig, and then just blown away. When I was a kid, we'd go to the music festival, and you'd set the show up. And when I was about, again, like 99, 2000, I would have been 18 years old, 19 years old. And then you would set up for the music festival. And then me and my buddies would take turns. We would camp out overnight with our tents. We would guard the setup, right? Because you'd guard it, and you'd tell us, man, if they move that amp an inch, I'm gonna, and then we would just sit there and guard it. And those were guys that I grew up with, like Jory Ariano, Bill Carroll, Pat Haskins. And then they moved to Winnipeg, started the band, and then they were essentially the house band at the Royal Albert Arms Hotel.
Really?
It's a legendary hard rock, punk rock venue that was just legendary. When I moved there in 2001, that place was my life. Like, we were there every Friday, watching these bands, and it was heavy, like grindcore, deathcore metal. Like, they didn't let up for a second. There's no folk acoustic acts in Winnipeg. It's like everybody was just metal, punk rock, and I loved it. And it was cool to see how we all, it's you're talking about, it's a very common story. A person's born in Silicout, their parents play music, and then 20 years later they're moving to Winnipeg to try and strike it big and start a band. And
man, I love the Royal Albert. I saw the Chocolate Bunnies in there. Chocolate Bunnies from HE Double Hockey Sticks. Great band. PJ Burton is the singer's name. Pierre Burton's son. But great band. The Royal Albert was a really cool place, but it was tiny. Just a tiny little place. I was always in there. It was dark and it felt big. And then but it was a really cool place. Really something.
No good sightlines in the band. There's just it just seemed like there was like 20 pillars in there. I'm like, do we need this many supporting pillars in the room? I'm like, I can't see anything. But yeah, I spent a lot of time in that building. So you mentioned Dan Fraser. At the 2000 Music Festival, we played with my band Wide Awake. This would have been my friend Adam Button.
Oh,
Jared Kimball and his older brother Caleb Kimball. We were playing, and Dan was the MC, and he came up and said, "Hey, what's your name? No, you guys are wide awake." And he just pumped us up, and he made us feel like, he's like, "Oh, I heard about you guys. Aren't you guys the most dangerous band in show business? That's what I heard. You better get out there and prove it." Like, and we were just like, "Oh, really?" Like, and he said, "This isn't a show. This is everything. This is like." And he built us up, and he said, "Okay, you guys ready? Because I'm going to go on that stage and announce you as the most dangerous band in rock and roll, and people better sit down and listen." And we're like, "No, don't do that. You're going to set us up for failure here."
No choice, though.
And he went out there, and he pumped us up, and he gave us the biggest hype speech, and then the lights dropped, and we just nailed it. And we never, like, our adrenaline was pumped, and we just rocked it. We wrote an album, recorded it with you, Tommy Tunes, and then we were playing it live for the first time. And
yeah, I remember that.
It's fantastic. So you've touched on this before, and I think it's a really important question when we're talking about learning music. Oh, I hear people say, "I'm not a musician. I'm not creative. I wasn't born that way." And then I'm always like, "Well, no, it's like you got to work at it. You got to learn how to do it." So I think that's the biggest hurdle, I think. So people think they can't do it, and then when they start doing it, there's so many roadblocks that could potentially come up. So I just want to get your thoughts. You know, what's the hardest thing for getting a beginner guitarist or any musician when they're getting started? What's the biggest hurdle to, like, get them to not drop it after 2 months and not make them quit after a week of, you know, how do you get them to sustain it? And
keep it fun. Keep it fun.
That's the golden rule.
Keep it fun. Have fun when you're playing with them. They'll have fun. And if they're playing something, have fun with whatever they're doing. Because, I mean, it is fun. What am I saying? I mean, to play guitar is a lot of fun. To write a song is a lot of fun. To perform is even more fun. To perform in front of 2,000 people is incredible fun. To perform in front of one person is fun. You know, just keep it fun. Because if it's not fun, they're not going to like it. They're not going to like it. But as you said earlier, the first hump is the fingers. Once you've got your fingers over the cheese grater and everything's working, it can become fun. Because I mean, a lot of kids that I'm teaching, my fingers are sore. Well, just keep working at it.
Right.
Eventually you'll develop calluses. Well, what are calluses? Well, do you wear sandals in the summertime? Yeah. Well, do the bottoms of your feet, do they get calloused? Well, it's callous. Well, it becomes hard. And well, can you show me a callus? So I put my fingers up, grab there. And they'll grab, they'll say, "Oh my God, that's not good." I said, "No, you couldn't tell until I showed you my calluses and you grabbed them." Like, and this happens with girls all the time. One guy, "I don't want calluses." Well, nobody's going to be able to tell, but still, do you want to play guitar or don't you? Yeah, I want to play. Yeah, don't worry about the calluses.
Yeah, I rarely ever use a guitar pick. And I almost exclusively will pick with my thumb. Like, even when I play electric, I use a pick because you can't really do it. But when I play an acoustic, I never use a pick. I always use my thumb. And I am always a naturally, like, I hold it like a classical. Sure. And I always use my 4 fingers. And I've gotten really good at, like, doing kind of 4-finger kind of hammer on, pick off kind of slide stuff. So I love hitting the harmonics and just slamming the guitar and hitting it like a drum. And I love that kind of sound. That sound really took off the past 8-10 years. My dad played a lot of Michael Hedges when I was a little boy. So Michael Hedges was a acoustic guitar player who was all finger tapping, all instrumentals. We'll ask you one last question. We'll wrap it up. Do you have any plan to teach youth how to produce music, how to record, the art of production? So I just want to hear briefly any plans there.
Yeah, the answer is yes. Yes. Back to fella for a minute. When I first started teaching fella guitar, I taught him how to record with ADATs, and you know what an ADAT is. And today, like right now, when I'm teaching a youngin, we talk about things like tone. Okay, what's good tone, what's bad tone, and then how to capture it with a microphone. Okay, because that's what recording is about. It's about capturing sound. So the short answer is yeah. I'm getting started with that. But some kids aren't interested in that. All they want to do is play, and that's cool. That's cool. Whatever you want to do, I'll work with you. But I do have some kids that do want to record, and I'm getting into that right away. As soon as we get back, as soon as we can all be at the center, we're going to resume that. We're going to resume that. There's a few that really want that. And I mean, whatever my students ask me, I'll do if I can, because I mean, there's some things that I can't do, and I won't BS them and try. You know, I've done that in the past, and that doesn't work out. That really doesn't work out. But no, yeah. I mean, what I know, I want all my students to know.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, because I mean, recordings, it's not difficult, but it's also not easy. You know, you've got to learn how to place a mic. You've got to learn how to capture things, you know. But that's going to be phase 2 of the youth center. Phase 1 was just learning to play.
I'll be there in 1 minute.
Yeah, that's for phase 2 of the youth center. Because I mean, in the youth center, it's a full-blown recording studio. It's all there.
You got the capacity. You just got to use it, take advantage of it. So there's someone here trying to get
not a problem. Yeah, but I mean, the answer.
I think that's awesome. We've got I think you need patience, right? Recording takes patience, right? You really gotta. It can be time consuming, and you got to be patient, and you have to.
Oh yeah. You gotta be patient. You gotta be quiet.
And you don't
get when you're recording.
You don't get immediate results. You gotta. It can take.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. When you're recording, you got to, like you say, you got to be patient. You got to listen a lot. You know, you're listening. You're listening for nuances. You're listening for everything, and you're listening. The other thing you're listening for is how the song's going to be put together. You know, not only the guitar, but how's the guitar going to sit in the mix with the bass, or how's it going to sit in the mix with the snare drum, or everything like that. You know, but yeah, like I was saying, this is the next phase of the youth center. For the next phase of where I want to take it to is recording and production.
I think it's a natural progression for a lot of musicians, right? You get to that next level. I used to jam in my buddy Caleb Kimball's basement, and there was a nail on a hook, or a nail on a wall, and we would hang this like 1980s recording like cassette tape on it. And we got good results because we realized that if you drop this recorder on the floor and it just gets drowned in that sound, but you hang that thing up as high as you can. And we felt like geniuses. We felt like, you know, we were like, you know, studio geniuses. We're like, oh man, we're great. We don't need a studio. We just got this.
You were well on your way though with that kind of thinking. That kind of thinking, you were already getting there.
Yeah.
You know, the last band I played in was the Four Ohms, and the Four Ohms is a very, very cool band. I was just so Four Ohms. Yeah. The Four Ohms with James Brown on vocals and guitar.
Exactly.
Various drummers. Jeff Hindy was one of them. A lot of drummers through the years. Kelly Magnuson was the original Four Ohms drummer, and a lot of guitar players. Rob Canton, Walter Davidson, whom I call Wally, and the last one was Phil. And from there, fella just graduated, and moved on, and left me here. But I'm happy.
There's another guy that lived in Sioux, Jeff Hindy, and moved to Winnipeg and started some bands, and he toured a lot too. He joined a few bands, and you bring that band back to the music festival. So the band I was in, we got to headline the music festival in 2004, and it was a big deal. My grandmother, Billy Tennant, stood in the front. She stood in this front row when my metal band played the music festival. And she must have been like 75 years old at the time, like pushing 80. And she just sat there and she's like, and afterwards she's like, Mike, I don't really understand it, but it's you on stage and I support you. And it was just like, yeah, I love you, Grandma. Like, it's just like, because like people are mosh pitting, and it's just like the most aggressive, like just chunky, like it's just Grandma's just like, oh, that's nice. Like,
well, thanks, Mike. Thanks a lot for you asked me. You know, really, really, and I mean, like what you put on the Facebook there last week, it blew my mind because I remembered now. Like you said, I was one of those kids, and it hit me like a bolt of lightning. You were one of those kids. Yeah. But it goes older than you, and I guess I realized how old I am now.
Yeah, like it wasn't a formal teaching setting, but it was you were definitely a mentor and somebody.
I guess I was.
You were somebody that we wanted to be like. We wanted our own studio. We wanted to have the Les Paul. We wanted to have the big rig. We wanted all those things, and you were the one doing them and really enjoying it and showing that joy and that fun, right? So I can see how it comes through in your teaching. So
it comes down to fun. If you're not having fun, why are you doing it? When the lights went down, it was nothing but rock and roll. Let's go.